Okay. So there's been a little bit of confusion in Research Log 1 about um, kind of the rhetorical situation and how to figure that out when you're reading other sources. So I know that you all know what it is, right? The exigence is what motivated the writer to write. The purpose is what the writer wants the reader to do with it, and the audience is the people that are actually intended to read it. Um, so we know all of those things. And on one of our boards, when we were in class, we wrote out kind of ways to think about that and how to figure out what those are. But it can be confusing, especially when we start to get into scholarly articles, right? Especially the exigence versus the purpose. So again, the purpose is what the author actually wants the reader to do. So, a lot of times this can be looked at in terms of is is the author wanting the reader to do some sort of change of thinking, right? Is it a conceptual purpose where we want to inform you um, or educate you or change your thinking about this topic? Versus are we actually looking for a practical purpose? Do I now need you to go build a building, right? Or build that bridge or whatever practice needs to be done, right? Change how you physically actually do blank thing. Um, so when we go through and we start to look at purpose, we can immediately separate them into those two kind of camps. Are we just looking to change the audience's thinking? Or is the author looking to change the audience's actual actions? Conceptual, practical. All right. From there, knowing or to figure that out, actually, it's really helpful to understand what the exigence is. Why is the author writing in the first place? And it cannot be that this is what my PhD is in and I am expected to publish 5 times a year. Though that might be true, that is not what motivated them to write this particular thing. So, what is motivating someone to write about the prelude to World War I right now? Or what is motivating people to write about counterterrorism now? Right? I can't say that we haven't had like a major terrorist attack for a number of years, but like 9/11 was in 2001, and I'm trying to think of one since then. Um, and I'm drawing a blank. Maybe it's because I'm sick. Um, I if there is one, I want somebody to give me that. Um, right, but why now is this document being written? Or whatever year it was, right? What happened in 2020 where all of a sudden we have all of this flood of information about how difficult it is to read academic work? What happened? We all know that answer. The pandemic happened. And the pandemic happened, which left a lot of students to read on their own with the expectation that they were going to understand it. And we found out, yeah, not really. These are really hard texts to understand. And so along came this push to try to get everybody to start to write in a more understandable way so that students can understand it more, right? Along came this push of why is all of these things being written about only to this very select group of people? Why isn't the information being more widely shared, right? Um, any number of things. So when you go through and you look at the exigence, it is more than likely not in that paper. It is more than likely in the date, where they're at in the world, and what was going on at that time. Now, that is just one option for exigence, right? Usually, in my opinion, it usually is kind of that current event, right? But it might also be all of a sudden this knowledge gap, right? The idea that here is a topic that we have talked about, that we've studied, that we know all these things about, but there's also like this other thing here that nobody is seeing, right? This happened a lot of times in a lot of academic work, a lot of scholarly work, where all of a sudden you would find that some author would be like, wait a minute, we keep talking about blank thing, but we've never once looked at, such and such demographic, or we've never considered how that works in poverty, or we've never looked at blank blank thing, right? The more that scholarship opens up, the more that the academy has opened up over the past 50, 60 years, right? This happens more and more and more because each time you all do research, you bring yourselves into the research, which is an experience that has never exactly been figured out in terms of whatever this project is. And that gets to be exciting. And that gets to be like, hey, wait, there's something new here that is important to write about. And that can be the exigence as well. So, two ways, hopefully, to try to help you pinpoint the exigence when you start to go through and look at your scholarly sources for research long 2.